And what companies sometimes miss is they think it's just about getting the requirements. So we just need somebody to go out there and document. And that's just an organization that has missed the whole definition of what it is and the value. And there's also that discrepancy because project managers and business analysts, for years, confusion over the roles, but business analysis is happening before we even have a project.
Welcome to the Inner Game of Change podcast, where I explore the intricate layers of organizational change alongside insightful professionals. I am your host, Ali Juma, and this is the Inner Game of Change podcast. Today, my guest is Laura Paton, a business analysis thought leader, LinkedIn educator, and an author. A leader in business analysis with over 3 decades of experience, Laura's unique blend of project management and analysis skills, combined with her role in shaping the industry standards with the IIBA and PMI, marks her as a key influencer and educator in the field. In this episode, Laura and I discuss the interesting world of business analysis, impacts, and ways for organizations to truly leverage the value of this art and discipline. I am grateful to have Laura chatting with me today. Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the Inner Game of Change podcast. I am eternally grateful for your time with me today.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the invite and it's a lot of fun to be here with you today.
Thank you very much. Laura, today we're going to talk about business analysis, a very exciting topic, well, to me anyway. But before we start talking more about that, it will be fantastic for you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Sure. Well, again, Laura Paton. Today, I'm a coach, mentor, in-classroom instructor, LinkedIn learning instructor. I basically have had a full career over 40 years
yes.
of experience. It feels like decades.
It feels.
But all good, all fun. 40 years of experience in the space. So I actually was doing business analysis before it even had a title. Came out of school with a computer science background, went into software development, wanted to do more, went into project management. And then about that time, just an explosion of software from mainframe to desktop, and we needed those dedicated resources to get requirements. So I found that my personality and my competencies and things I liked really gravitated towards being that requirements person. So started off in that direction. And then I was really, really fortunate to be around in the foundation in the beginning when IIBA, International Institute of Business Analysis, was, starting up and establishing their standards. So I volunteered and I was been around IIBA from pretty much the beginning. I was around for version 1.6 of their body of knowledge and project manager for 2.0 and chair for 3.0 or version 3 that we use today, actually, to certify business analysts. So I ended up spending 10 plus years in the standard certification space. I did what I did for IIBA. I went over and did for PMI as well, along with having a day job, along with teaching and all that. So really multifaceted, but just jumped into the profession. And I kind of feel like I've done a lot, set up COEs, coached people, help people get certified, just anything. I just love it. So that's me.
Fantastic. And look, I love your learning videos, and I admire how much contribution you've contributed to the industry. And I would like you to, sometimes you get confused, or I get confused between, is it a system analyst? Is it a business analyst? In a nutshell, what is business analysis to people like me who actually not deep into the practice? Well,
it's an area actually a lot of people get confused, or they don't think about. They think they have to have the job title of business analyst to actually be doing business analysis. But we learned years and years ago with IIBA that the focus is on business analysis, the work itself, which includes, that that mind to want to inquire and research and probe and collaborate. And, sure, it's the requirements piece, but it's all that other stuff that we do with that analytical minds and skills. So, you mentioned job titles. So we just tell individuals, when we wrote the Bayback Guide, it comprised of what we saw as business analysis work. And then we explained that, there's tons of job titles out there that are involved doing business analysis, even a project manager, even a scrum master, a product owner, a business relationship manager. It's almost endless. And we can't control what organizations title their people,
sure,
but we certainly can, define business analysis, teach it, and share that many people need to know that skill, that competency.
Every project has got a business analyst. Is that a true statement?
No, that's not true. There's a lot of organizations that still to this day don't hire business analysts, but they wouldn't think of initiating a project without a project manager, which blows my mind. So I think we made a lot of progress. I think a lot of organizations recognize the value. They do have titles or roles focused on business analysis, but across the board, no, there are still organizations that just think that a project manager can get the requirements or the developers can collaborate and get them. There's, like I said, it's getting smaller and smaller, but they still exist, believe it or not, that just don't do it.
I was recently, Laura, in a town hall, and there was a leader talking about a topic and a project, and they made a statement which made a lot of people feel good and a lot of other people not good in this sense. But I understand what she was trying to say. She made this statement, something like, a business analyst should be paid their weight in gold. And when she said that, obviously the project managers started thinking, what about us and all of that. But I think what she was trying to say is that you gotta have to have I think she emphasized you gotta have to have a good business analyst to guide you through the turbulence of, especially in the early stages. What do you think of that statement?
I understand completely where they were coming from. I might have, said it different because I do think the reaction there is, well, what about me and my role is important too. But what I tend to focus on and speak about is the value of business analysis, because I think a lot of organizations, if they're trying to mature their practices, they're trying to justify new positions or headcount or, just new processes, tools, whatever, or even a training budget. And what companies sometimes miss is they think it's just about getting the requirements. So we just need somebody to go out there and document. And that's just an organization that has missed the whole definition of what it is and the value. And there's also that discrepancy because project managers and business analysts, for years, confusion over the roles. But business analysis is happening before we even have a project. So to start off with, a really high level of value is coming up front to try to figure out whether that problem or opportunity is worth pursuing. And so when we apply business analysis up front, we can, define the business needs and make sure we really understand what the problem or opportunity statement is and figure out the value right there. Is it worth, based on where we are today and where we want to get to, is this initiative worth investing in? And so it's through business analysis that we help guide organizations. I mean, it really is. We can't do everything, right? We have limited resources, limited money and time. So we need business analysis to guide decision-making before we even have projects.
Yes.
And so the end result should be, we don't do every idea that comes along. And it's business analysis that helps us vet that out. So it's a win if we have an idea and we do some upfront analysis and decide it's not worth it to go do this thing. We've saved the company, a lot of money, tens of thousands or millions of dollars. So that's value right there before we even have a project.
And this actually, sorry, you go, Laura.
No, that's it. I was just saying, just to make sure we do the right initiatives, the right change initiatives.
I've noticed this in a recent work that I'm working on a governance framework. And so ideas will come through the pipeline and then they go through the wash. And then I saw in one of the steps that there's business analysis happening, and exactly what you just mentioned, which is triaging what is valuable, what is not, done by a business analyst. So, and some of them are not going to eventuate to become projects, but the business invests upfront in a business analyst role or responsibility to go through the ideas and the initiatives and then decide which ones pass the test and which ones probably are not aligned. And so that what really surprised me about, oh, okay, so they're not just part of a project, they work in other areas as well. But most importantly, it also highlighted to me that business analysis is not, so when you hear people saying Ali is out there gathering requirements, that's not really quite a true statement, is it? Ali is out there meeting with the stakeholders and really understanding what the problem is or the challenges or the opportunity. And then that becomes, that data or pieces of data becomes information, and they're going to have to think about it and turn it into insight. And the insight forms what the final solution or the outcome is. Have I got this close to right?
Yeah, very, very close to right. And as you were speaking, something that came to mind is, the folks that define business analysis or that business analyst as the person who is, collecting the requirements, that isn't fair to me any more than saying that the project manager is the person that's updating the project schedule.
Yes,
it's only a small aspect of what we do. It's a task, but the overall value of project management and business analysis is much greater. And we can see the value in PM a lot of times, but we totally miss it in business analysis. So yes, making sure that we understand what the strategy is, that, what we're pursuing, these organizational changes being pursued will align with strategy, that we're defining the objectives. We know what to measure, and then even if we have 3 good ideas and they all have value, good, strong value propositions, there's a sequence, right? What do we do for second and third? So we have to help there as well, because you can't do everything at one time.
Yes.
So, So yeah, agree. You were spot on, just doing that analysis and that research and getting people talking and collaborating.
Yeah. What are the success measures for a business analyst, Laura?
Well, there's a number of them. I like when you read the Bayback Guide, we actually grouped all the business analysis tasks into 6 groups that we call them knowledge areas, which if you're a project manager, it's the process groups from the PMBOK. And so in each of those, there's success metrics, right? So up front is strategy analysis, where we talk about, going out and having that initial conversation, understanding what that sponsor's looking for. So, what is that business need? What is the problem or opportunity statement? That collaboration, making sure we're all on the same page as to what that thing is. And then doing the research and making sure we come out with a recommendation. Do we move forward or not? So the success metric there is, did that analysis get done, and did we spend the money wisely? And then, of course, if it's a go and we do initiate a project, then the next body of success metric would be based on, have we done enough research to really define the requirements that we can build from? And did we do the check and balances, talk to the right people, define it in a good way, make sure everybody's on the same page of what we're building? So there's different success metrics as you get further down into more details of your analysis.
Sure. I want to ask you about what are the telltale signs of a project that lacks business analysis, or business analysis was done poorly?
Well, the signs would be chaos, right? It would be the multitude of problems that occur when projects fail. So, we talk about in project management, the iron triangle, which is, the budget, the schedule, are those overrun, right? Did we define scope? So any of those where we have a failure point where this project is running on and on and on, or we overspent, we deliver something that nobody wants, nobody uses, we have a solution with more features than people are leveraging. Any of those are signs that we didn't do proper business analysis.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a host of characteristics you will see.
Yeah. So what I hear you say anyway is that the project has got the three constraints: there's your scale, budget, and time. And if there's any sort of exposure to risk in any of those areas, first look for business analysis. Is it done? Is it done properly? Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. So let's just take one side of that triangle. This project was supposed to be delivered in June, and now it's November, and we don't really know. We just keep going. It's not ending. Okay, so what happened there? Did we understand the problem from the beginning? Did we set measurable objectives? Did we properly scope it? Why do we have chaos? Why is there confusion over where we're going? Why didn't we drive to what the PM's needing to drive to? And it would be maybe we didn't, dig deep enough. Maybe stakeholders are coming out at the last minute. Maybe our requirements were vague, a host of things.
Yes, I want to double click on the idea of stakeholder engagement. I often come across BAs who just focus on exactly what they want to achieve, which is, I'm going to sit with you and ask you a list of questions. And sometimes I don't even have a context. I can tell you that, because management asked me to do that. And I find that approach, it wouldn't, in the long term, for the project or for the initiative, for the idea, it would not help when I go unprepared. In my head, I'm thinking this person can be better prepared, understanding what the objective of the project is, the context, and therefore they need to have really strong communication skills. Where do you stand on that?
Well, definitely strong communication skills. But as you were speaking, interviews have always been a part of our elicitation. But I do use them wisely. I don't overuse them as a way to obtain information from people, because our solutions are getting more complex.
Yes.
Our technologies are more complex. And I always find that if you start to go down the path and just keep having too many one-on-one conversations, there's a lot of rework, because then you get more people together, which you should be as a business analyst, accentuating that collaboration, because it's not just elicitation, it's elicitation and collaboration. We need everybody in a room. Everybody knows something different. Everybody has different history, has seen different things work and not work. And collectively, it's everybody participating and netting out that conversation that really involves good elicitation. And so I think it's a team sport. I'm not a big proponent of just, there's reasons why we do one-on-one interviews, but it can't be the sole focus, because you just end up finding that person doesn't have the context, or doesn't know as much, or only knows their small piece, or proposes something that can't be done technically, on and on, right? So we just need everybody together collaborating, with the BA leading and facilitating.
So our data points and collection of those data points should come from various sources. One-on-ones is just one of them. Yes. Group collaboration, historical data, literature, all of those things that can help a business analyst. I want to ask you about, you mentioned technology, and I can't help but talk about the evolution of nowadays, the large language models and AI and technology. How do you see that enhancing the practice?
Well, I mean, it's still to be seen, I suppose. But I mean, as a huge repository of information that's come from learnings over time, I mean, just like it will for other professions, it's kind of our lessons learned on steroids, right? If we have this repository, we can go back in and have like this other resource to elicit from, or learn from, or help us, take some of the redundant pieces off of the table for our job. Then, we're just that much more advanced, being able to spend time on the things that AI isn't good at, the stuff that isn't redundant, repetitive, or so it's a source. I mean, for me, I would say if we were updating the BABOK and we were thinking about source of information that we research, I mean, AI would have to be an input to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What we can learn? I mean, variables for a project, not like, let's just go with an example. If I was consulting today and I was with a client in installing Salesforce and I had to do the requirements and configurations, why should I start from scratch? There's how many other hundreds of people that implemented Salesforce, right? Why couldn't I just, you know what I mean?
Yes.
We talk about reusability, but now it's much broader.
Yes.
We have the world to learn from.
And I see technology, and obviously we are talking about AI now and generative AI, and is actually evolving very quickly. I've got the luxury now working on an AI strategy for an organization, so I'm reading a lot about it. I tell you what, I've become a nerd in it. But the possibilities, and I completely agree with you. It's I think we'd rather focus on the insight and sharing that insight to help an organization rather than it will make some tasks more efficient for us. The speed of information also will make it, better for us. But I do think that I've read so much about it now, and I'm not and I actually use generative AI. I'm testing quite a few things in it. Even I created literally a poster for my son, including his photo, and it took me 2 minutes. AI is beautiful if you give it context. And the context is really important. And that context, only rich context comes from professionals. If you are an amateur, like anybody can go and ask AI now about change management, and it will give you all the things that you need to do. But that's not really the knowledge that you want. You want the insight out of that. So what are you going to do with that? Because we don't become a professional out of a book. So
you still have to analyze. You have to take the output, understand what's valuable, what's not, right?
Yeah, I've heard this, somebody in the States, and I can't remember his name. He talks about two types of knowledge. One is learned knowledge, and the other one is earned knowledge. And the earned knowledge is the experience and the wisdom that comes from practice over the years. And I thought about that. Earned knowledge is the context that we see things. So I see technology as a co-pilot for me, something that can enable me get some information probably faster for me, but the thinking process is mine. I need to, which is where the value is in any profession anyway. This is how I see it happening, but I do see it happening in business analysis probably more than other practices because there's a lot of dependency on data.
Yeah. Well, we're just seeing the beginnings of it, right? So it'll be very interesting. But just like you wouldn't for any other profession, just take the outputs of it and run with it, right? You have to, like you said, have that experience or deeper knowledge or, apply another level to what you're getting back to understand the importance or lack of importance to what was fed to you.
What are the measures, in your opinion, that organizations should take into consideration and to have a representation of business analysis in a project?
Well, I think there's measures that they should be, setting metrics. I mean, they should, first of all, how strong is their business analysis practice? I mean, you can measure that. You can understand it. Do you have a practice? Do you have a defined way? Do you hire qualified business analysts, or do you just let that responsibility for, the conversation to just, be chaotic and just have the project manager running everything, including all the PM responsibilities? So, do you do every project that comes along, or do you actually have an intake process where you spend your money on targeted solutions and, you do turn a percentage of projects away? So if we just looked at our spend and how many projects came in and how much money they were asking for and what we ended up approving, what does that equal? And there should be a percentage of everything that comes through that we don't do, right? We should be able to measure what we saved by doing the right research and shying away from. And then, how clean are our projects? go back to the iron triangle. I mean, business analysis enables that iron triangle to come to fruition, right? So whatever you have as project metrics are a window into how valuable, how well run your business analysis process is. Yeah. You can't be successful on a project without business analysis.
Yes, you can complete a project, but whether it's going to be successful or not is a different story.
Exactly. And what is success, right? Like, we built it. We were on time and on budget and we put it into production. Is anybody using it? Are your customers turning away because it's horrible? Do your staff, are they finding workarounds, cheating the system because it's so unusable? Like that type of stuff as well. I've
got a dark joke about this, but I feel like I want to share it with you. It's following the process and ticking all the boxes, like a surgeon that finished the heart operation and then they finished, and then so I'll be asking Laura, how did this surgery go? And then Laura will be saying, it was fantastic. I ticked all the boxes. And then later I asked Laura, hey, how about the patient? By the way, what happened to the patient? And Laura said, well, the patient died, but I ticked all the boxes. And so the idea of completing a project, as dark as it is, the analogy. I want to talk to you, and I'm a big fan of that every profession should know a lot about a lot of things and not just my profession. I want to ask you about what are the key capabilities and what are the complementary capabilities you think BAs should have, especially in today's high expectations, rise of technology, and complexity of the world.
Wow, there's a lot. I think that's what always had me gravitate towards business analysis, is because there are so many skills you have to develop and so many things you're responsible for. It makes it quite exciting. But just somebody coming out of school, let's just look at their personality. Are they extroverted or introverted? Well, okay, we don't want to be judgmental, but if you find yourself as an introvert, you have to train yourself to feel comfortable putting yourself out there and having conversations, because if you're not comfortable doing that, then you're going to be that business analyst that sits in the back of the room and just scribes or just take notes. So you're not going to be proactive. You're not going to be inquiring. You're not going to like to research. You're going to look for everything to be served up for you. That's not what we look for our BAs to do. We look for them to love uncertainty, to love change, to always want to know why, go above and beyond when somebody serves something up, to keep, digging and probing, love challenges, be comfortable and be level-headed, because our business, our customers, our business stakeholders, they don't love change. They're typically nervous about it. So they're going to look to us to make them assured that we're going in the right direction. So they have to have all of those. When we wrote the BABOK, we had talked about 30 underlying competencies, and we could have went and did more than that, but we had to cut it off because the chapter could only be so long. But facilitation, your love of networking, collaboration, visually being able to depict something, understanding high-level detail. There's a lot to it. But in the purest sense, you can't be a wallflower. You have to question. You have to be comfortable in your skin. And it makes it hard when you're starting off because, those aren't usually skills. You come out of high school, go into college, you still have all this uncertainty, right? So us older BAs could certainly help instill that confidence in the younger next generation of business analysts. Because I think you need confidence, And, I will say from experience, the BAs are always the ones that the more powerful people on the team are coming down on or challenging. So take a coach with you, have a mentor, have a senior person to help you see how they maneuver those environments, because it can make you feel pretty intimidated when you're first starting out.
Now you've talked about this, and I've just done a quick mental inventory of all the BAs that I worked with, and unfortunately they do fall into the shy, quiet type. And when I say quiet type, I'm not judging their intelligence. Of course, they're intelligent people, but that's what's happened. I was a speaker at a BA's forum recently, and I basically was a speaker talking about change management. But I did say, I did make a statement that all of us in this business are influencers and relationship builders. And we gotta have to be good at those two things. Because for me to engage with you, I gotta have to listen to you, but I also sometimes gotta have to influence you. Or sometimes I gotta have to influence you to share the information that I need from you. And as you mentioned, if I sit in a steering committee and I'm a BA, and again, I don't see a lot of BAs in steering committees, unfortunately. But if I sit in there and I earn a seat at the table, I'd better contribute. And what that contribution looks like is entirely up to you, but it's going to have to be meaningful and it's going to have to enrich the experience and the conversation. And if that doesn't happen, then I think we missed the mark.
Oh, right. And I think BAs, as you train and you become a more senior business analyst, you should be trained along the way to recognize that it's all about value proposition, right? So just don't, we had that old phrase that's been around way too long called analysis paralysis, right? But it still pertains. You need to question what you're doing. Are you doing the right stuff? Is it adding value? Think about it every day. Are you adding value? Can you speak to the value you're adding? Because again, organizations, they have no hesitancy at all to understand how to invest into project management and to have PM roles, but they're always hesitant about understanding or, do we need a business analyst or, do they even have a mature practice? So you're going to be called out a lot to have to pitch why we have to do X before Y. And, you have to feel comfortable understanding the value proposition behind everything you do and make sure you stay there because you'll be the first called out over a project manager who might do some excessive Excel documents or whatever that aren't needed. BAs will be more called out than a PM.
Yes.
And then also, as you were speaking too, I was thinking that why I think business analysis or coming up as a business analyst is harder than a project manager. And I may turn off some PMs. They may not believe this, but I was a PM and I have a PMP. So I'm talking from experience, but when you're a project manager, you're automatically thought of as a leader, right? Like management looks at you. You may not have staff reporting to you, but on that project, you are the lead and you ask somebody to do something, they go do it, right? You have to be a leader in business analysis, but people don't look at you as a leader. That's the difference. So there's a higher respect for project managers than business analysts, but they're equally important and both of them lead.
I hear you, and we have the same struggle in change management. But I've discovered also, Laura, that voices like yours and mine will make an impact. But in the workplace, I did notice that we are responsible about building our own value and credibility as well. So when project does not have a change manager, and then they knock on my door and saying, "Can you advise us?" I can advise, but I'm not going to say my approach will be, you can do this better, I can help you with this. But let me show you what a full resource of change management can do for you. Right. And you don't need them throughout the whole life cycle. Because again, I'm talking to a project manager who is driven by budget sometimes as well. And resources are important. So I can educate project managers that you probably need a change manager, but you don't need them. So cost-wise, it'll be far more efficient for you. But I also highlight to them what they're missing out on right now. And I show that to them as well. So I work with them for a number of hours and finish. And I was thinking, imagine this, on an ongoing basis helping you. And you probably need them 1 or 2 days a week, but you can, especially if you're actually going at this speed. So we've got a responsibility ourselves. And the other thing that I did, for example, in an organization recently, any project update, I added a section in there in the template, which was not easy to add, but I lobbied for the importance of having a section to give an update about people, change management, and communication. And unless you have it in that update, people will forget about it. And so these are the ways of influencing. Talking about change management, because I know what BAs do and should be doing, every time I join a project, even if it's not at the start, I knock on the BA's door and really want to see all the information they have, because all those pieces of information inform me and educate me about the change, which I need to work with the people side of things. In your practice and in your experience, do you see a good, solid relationship with the change management community?
Yeah. I mean, are you saying, have I seen that on my past projects?
Yes,
I have, in organizations that had formalized change management processes and individuals responsible for it. I've been in other organizations where they didn't, but then we had strong business analysts or a team of analysts where that BA took on the role as a change management person, or maybe the sponsor did, because at the end of the day, we need to know the impacts to workflows or SOPs, or, how is this business going to take these changes on? They need to be defined and communicated and trained at one point or another, right?
Yes.
So, yes, I see high collaboration, just like you would with the other important roles, the QA and the business analyst, the architect and the business analyst, the designer and the developer. There's all critical relationships and camaraderie and partnerships that have to be had for different reasons.
Yes. Laura, I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation. We are coming close to the podcast. I want to ask you one last question. What would be the 3 takeaways you would like my audience, project managers, change managers, BAs, or business leaders to really know about business analysis and the importance of having a business analyst in the team?
Well, I think the number one that comes to mind is that business analysis is required, whether you have that role of business analyst defined in your organization or not. Business analysis has to happen. Otherwise, you have chaos and you don't build what needs to be built, and you're spending money on the wrong initiative. So your organization might have a host of different job titles. The importance is, I think all roles need to understand business analysis. Everybody on a project team needs to understand it. So that's number one. The second piece is that business analysis isn't just happening on projects. So you're not tactical. We do a big tactical piece of it. And I think that's where most people see their business analysts, because they think, that you're responsible for getting the requirements. But where we started our conversation early on was business analysis, and the value is upfront, whether we pursue a change or not. So we can't do everything. We don't have unlimited resources. So we have to use business analysis in a strategic way to help organizations know how to spend their money and what projects to initiate. And probably the third thing that I would emphasize, and we didn't get to talk about this, but just like we have pre-project value with business analysis, and we talked about tactically the business analysis on a project, then the latter is also true. We have a high need to be doing business analysis work after we implement. And a lot of people don't even understand that piece. But what that means is that we push projects into environments that are constantly changing. So we put that solution out there, and the enterprise has changed, the external environment's changed, and it continues to change. So we just don't put it out there and never monitor it again. It's an asset, a capability, or set of capabilities for the organization. So we need to keep coming back, applying business analysis, and saying, are we still getting the value out of what we built? And if we are, keep going. But if we didn't, because we have a new competitor, or the users are using workarounds now that we didn't envision them using, or our customers have different expectations now, then we need to come back, revisit, and decide, do we have another set of changes? And that's how products evolve, right? That's how IT systems get versions. That's how, mobile devices get the next release, is because we have to keep evolving. And so business analysis helps us do that as well. Stay competitive, keep enhancing our products. Pre-project, post-project, and on the project.
I really like that, because I've been very vocal recently around what we call the hypercare and post the project goes into the horrible BAU, term.
Business as usual.
Yeah, which shouldn't really be a business as usual because we just spent millions of dollars on a change.
Right.
It makes me think now, because I've been advocating for what happens after the project closes, and then exactly what you just mentioned, auditing or observing how people are using it. So what you're saying, business analysis also going to have to come back and understand, is the solution giving us what we actually thought it would be giving us? So you're looking at that. Yeah, okay. And so that's really a brilliant point, which I haven't really thought about. So I've been consumed by myself, in the changing comes. But now you're saying that we need to do that, which means, Laura, that would need to be penciled in as part of the project plan at the outset.
Well, the project plan might be gone and closed down because the project ended, right? But this is then business analysis in an operational environment where, it should be, depending on what it is we built. I mean, we check right after we go live, we check in 30 days, 60 days, twice a year, whatever it is for whatever our company or organization does. Right. But there's always going to be things changing. So here's the analogy, and I know we're short, but if we buy a car, we do a lot of research up front. We hope that investment is the right one. That's the upfront, right? And then we get the car and we do the analysis to understand how to use the car, right? And that's the tactical piece on our projects. And then we maintain our car. We check and make sure that, the filters are clean and we maintain it. And so we need to maintain these investments as well. And it's kind of the same concept. We understand these things in our personal life. We get into business and we think it's different. We just focus on the middle, which is we bought the car or we're building the car.
And there's a risk of not maintaining the car, obviously. So, and the risk is probably, risk is greater in a project world because there's an impact on the business and the people and the customers as well. Thoroughly enjoying this conversation, and it's a brilliant point that you're adding here, which definitely is going to make me think a lot about how I want to tackle that end of the project or post-end of the project. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining me in the Inner Game of Change podcast. How would people connect with you and reach out to you?
My favorite platform is still LinkedIn. I love it. I spend a lot of time there. So I'm Laura Paton, BA. So you can, send me a connection request. You can, if you have access to LinkedIn Learning, or I'm opening courses frequently for free. You can take one of my classes on LinkedIn Learning in the business analysis space. So you might catch me there, but, just connect with me on LinkedIn and then follow me because I post and I'm sharing stuff all the time.
And I'm grateful for all your contributions. I read them. And I'm a big fan. We're going to put all your information on the podcast, Laura. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation today. You've made me think a lot about, you've even enriched my knowledge around business analysis, but most importantly, you made me think about a couple of new things that I need to sort of explore more in details. I hope to get you back at some stage next year, Laura, and we can tackle one topic within business analysis and really dig deeper into it. We go through what I call a rabbit hole into one topic and then see what that takes us. But until then, Laura, stay well and stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, remember to subscribe to stay updated on upcoming episodes. Your support is truly appreciated, and by sharing this podcast with your colleagues, friends, and fellow change practitioners, you can help me reach even more individuals and professionals who can benefit from these discussions. Remember, change is an enduring force, and collectively we have the capacity to navigate it more effectively. Stay motivated, keep expanding your knowledge, and be the positive change contributor in your circles and work. Until next time, thank you for being part of the Inner Game of Change community. I am Ali Jama, and this is the Inner Game of Change podcast.
It was awesome. I wouldn't even know you were recording. It was just a conversation with an old friend that I just met. So, well, thanks.